These great beasts know paths that you can't find on foot. They'll get you there fast and maybe show you something new at the same time.
In this video, we're going to be breaking down the new Season 4 tank tier list. And tanks are the linchpins of every single composition, so this is also a composition guide for Season 4. But we're going to be breaking it all down, but do me a solid and smash the like, subscribe if you enjoy the content, and let me know what video you want to see next in the description down below. Now, Reinhardt did receive some pretty hefty nerfs. He got nerfs to his health pool overall, both his armor and his base health. And while this doesn't make Reinhardt all of a sudden bad, Reinhardt was teetering on a really oppressive ranked playstyle. And this is the thing about the tanks right now. A lot of the tanks are very close in power level, and Ryan just edged them out before, and in a lot of cases, he's not going to edge them out now. He's still going to be good on the maps that he's normally played on, but it's not like you can force Ryan in every situation. Now for ranked though, Ryan is going to be a bit better, and especially for the metal ranks, I'm going to put him a lot higher when I do my metal rank tier list, because he's very dominant the lower end rank you go. But when we talk about the meta from the top down, Reinhardt deserves very high B, maybe low A. You could justify it, but I do think that he centers around here. Not playable on every map. There's a lot of maps that are just not going to favor him. Many maps are going to favor more dive-centric characters or Sigma long-distance sniper maps, but on the maps that he's good in, he's amazing and he's incredibly powerful. Now the next character that we have is Winston, and Winston actually gets a bit better in the new meta. He's actually fairly strong at targeting many of the strongest supports in the game right now. He can contest snipers on the maps that he's good in, and of course he plays well with one of the best DPS in the entire game right now, Tracer. Now, Winston, unfortunately, is a character that needs a lot of resources, and for ranked, it's a bit hard to play him. I think that, especially if you don't have the amount of healing and support that you need on this character, it's going to be pretty hard to make him work, and in addition to that, he's a lot better when you're doing a set dive with him. So, if you have your bubble creating value for everyone that is going in with you, it's fantastic. If you're doing it all alone, I think there's a bit better dive options, characters like Hammond or even Doomfist. Now, that being said though, on maps that are favored for high ground taking, Winston's always going to be great. Maps like New Bonnie, Hollywood 2nd, Winston is going to be fantastic. But from a power level point of view, there's a lot of alternatives that are better in more situations. Winston can also be fairly hard to play at the highest level, and he does have a high skill ceiling. So while I think the character can take you and carry high ranked games, he's going to be a bit hard to do so. And of course, there are maps that he just can't play on. Maps that are long distance, maps that are difficult to dive on, where characters like Hammond, if you're going to try to dive on like Junkertown, Hammond would be a lot better because Hammond can operate behind them and around and needs less resources. Winston's still good, but he's not breaking any metas wide open right now. I'm going to put him a little bit under Ryan in the B tier. Still solid, but a bit situational. Speaking of situational, we have Zarya. And Zarya's in this strange spot where she's super strong, but she has really bad matchups. If we think about Zarya's, like, she destroys characters like Orisa. She's fairly good against characters like Ramatra and Diva, of course, as long as the Diva plays into her. Of course, the Diva can play around her, which I'll talk about in a bit. But Zarya is really good when things are flat, the maps are flat, the fights are flat. But the second that characters are getting dove around her, the second there's a tracer in her backline, the second there's nothing that she can interact with nearby, she becomes really, really easy to counter. And it's strange because there's games where Zarya will hard carry, like carry harder than any other tank, but there's other games where she just feels like subpar. And I would say that she kind of is low based on her lack of flexibility. None of the sniper maps you can play her on. Many of the dive maps, she is really, really poor against many of the dives. So when she's bad on dive, she's bad on sniper. And then in the brawl matchups, I think that a lot of times she is not great in that situation either. Ryan is a bit better. I would either put her low B or high C. I think for the carry factor of her, the fact that she's still a strong character, she could still carry games, I'm going to put her in the B tier, but at the bottom of the B tier. I don't think that she's better than Winston or Ryan. She's usable in less situations, but on the situations that she's good in, she's amazing. And of course, for the metal tiers, which we'll talk about later, the metal tier list, she's going to be higher because I think that she can carry harder than a lot of other characters can, even if she is not nearly as good in the meta as some of these other characters. Now let's talk about Junker Queen. Junker Queen is a character that unfortunately just needs a little bit of buffs. I think Junker Queen is amazing. Her kit is crazy. You can hard carry her. She's one of the best characters to hard carry with. When you have, like, when you're the best player in the lobby, Junker Queen can do it all. But unfortunately, Kiriko feels like she counters you. You can die very easy to just getting discorded and shot at. A lot of characters are hard to interact with, like Tracer. I would say overall, Junker Queen just feels a bit underpowered. You feel fairly fragile and squishy. Oftentimes, you're in a situation where you have to use your shout defensively just to live, and if people target you, you can just get targeted and killed. I think that if we had some sizable buffs to her, she could become very, very powerful. But right now, she's like the worst of the brawl options, unless you're legitimately better than everyone in the lobby. I'm going to put her in the C tier. So, yeah, this is one of my favorite characters. I think that the best time to whip her out, though, is if you're up against a ball composition. She's very good against ball. She's very good at throwing a knife on the ball, hitting him. She's really, really good at that. But outside of that situation, she feels pretty mid, or a little bit worse than that. Now, speaking of mid, let's talk about Orisa. Orisa is also in a strange spot. I'm going to put Orisa up here above Junker Queen. Orisa is like a tool that is used in a very specific situation where Orisa is kind of generally okay against shutting down tanks, but most of the time you take the agency away from yourself and you kind of autopilot as just, you know, just this blob that doesn't really do anything or accomplish anything. A lot of the times you can't interact with many of the DPS or supports, not the way like you could before when you had high damage, and a lot of tanks just avoid you, or they play their own game and they just basically just don't care about you. Characters like Sigma will poke you out. Ramatra will just keep poking and playing from distance until there's an opportunity to go in. Ryan will basically just completely ignore you or get close to you and swing on you when you have no cooldowns. Winston will jump past you. Like, a lot of these characters, they just get to pick and choose their engagements. And because you don't have the ability to pivot on their backline, like Orisa can't really go and punish DPS in the way that she could before, you're not really in a situation where you can afford to just ignore the enemy tank and try to do the same thing. Because this is something that happens a lot where, you know, let's say the Doom Ryan matchup, right? Doom can play keep away from Ryan, but every once in a while, Doom is going to pivot. At the same time, Ryman is going to pivot into the enemy backline, and y'all can both try to accomplish more in each other's backlines in between trying to keep each other in check. But if someone tries to pivot into your backline and you try to do the same thing on Orisa, you're just going to be less effective the majority of the time than they are. You're just not going to be pound for pound the same amount of value. I think that she can be good if you're getting kind of diffed by a character that you don't really know how to stop, or there's like a really strong tank that you just don't know how to stop. So like a crazy Doom you're up against, or let's say an unstoppable Hog for whatever reason, you could swap. But for the most part, this character is a character that is a bit underpowered right now, isn't capable of mirroring in the same way that some of these other characters are. Now, moving on, let's talk about Doomfist. And Doomfist is another character that a lot of people, I think, underrate. I think Doomfist is very powerful in this meta, especially for ranked. Perhaps for pro play, he's not really seeing any pro play, but for ranked in particular, Doomfist doesn't really have that many bad tank matchups. I think his worst tank matchup is probably Zarya. Maybe you could justify Orisa, even though most of the time you just don't even really care about Orisa's either. Because Doomfist gets to pick and choose his battles, getting a power punch, either playing very reactively and stopping a dive, you know, just being disruptive, not centered around power punch, around balls, and traces, and things like that, or being aggressive in high damage compositions with Zeds and Annas and Cassidys. He gets power punch, he goes in, he gets a kill in the mid fight, and he can carry that way with chain punch. He's also a character that has a lot of skill expression. I think that for the most part, he has really good matchups against characters like Rein, Winston, Junker Queen, Ramatra, Diva. Ball is like a 50-50. Probably Doomfist is slightly favored if you play a Peel style against Ball, because you can cancel the slam. He has a lot of great matchups in ranked. I think the hardest thing about Doom is really not even the tank matchups. It's the DPS and support matchups. Characters like Zen can make your life hard. Kiriko can Suzu your punches. Sombras can make you like very ineffective, and you can't do anything to fly characters really unless you're Zebra. So those are the problems for this character, not the tank matchups. But a lot of these games come down to the tank matchups, and Doom just demolishes most of them. So I'm putting him in the A tier. He'll probably be low A, but I think he deserves A. Now let's talk about Sigma. Sigma's amazing. Sigma is kind of just him. I mean, he's really, really strong. On the maps that he's good in, any sniper map at all, any poke map at all, Junkertown, Havana, Circuit Royale, even like Hollywood 2nd, Sigma's amazing. Sigma is just really, really good. Now, especially with the rock change actually somewhat feels like a buff, especially in a lot of matchups. You know, as someone who plays like tanks a lot, I'm tank main probably, the rock change has felt really, really brutal, because being stunned for longer matters more than being able to one-shot combo a tank, because you're not going to one-shot combo a tank. Now, for squishies, characters that have movement abilities, it's worse. You know, trying to hit someone, they can maybe get out of it, and if there's no focus fire, it can be a little bit annoying that you can't combo them. But for tanks in particular, you can kind of shut them down even better than you did before. Characters like being able to stun a Hammond for longer, a Doom for longer, a Winston for longer, that's real value, and that actually matters. The only downside to Sigma is that you can't play him on every map. He has very, very specific maps that he's good in, and then there's other maps that you just have to play another tank, or else you're going to get flanked around. He wants a very linear path, a long distance poke path, or a linear path where all the enemies are in front of him and there's no one behind him. He's not good on maps that he has to occupy a center space. A lot of the Koth maps, he has to occupy a center space where he has to deal with people behind him and in front of him. Remember, his kinetic grasp and his shield, it's very like one-sided, so it can be very difficult to deal with enemies that are coming from all sides of him, and his weakness is typically getting swarmed and overwhelmed in that way, and he doesn't feel very well. So he's better when he can contain where the enemies are, contain the area that they are in front of him, and poke them out on his terms. So because of that, I'm not putting him in the S tier, but I am putting him in very, very high A, because he's S on the maps that he's good in, and then he's just not played on the maps that he's not. Now, this moves us to Ramatra, and for a lot of the reasons that I gave Sojourn S tier, which Sojourn is a very good every single map and every composition, Ramatra is very, very similar for ranked play. Ramatra doesn't really have any bad tank matchups, any true bad tank matchups. Some of them could be a bit hard, but you can overcome that with skill. It's not like you are forced into one play style and you're shut down, because you can play poke until you want to brawl, and you can force a brawl when you want to force a brawl. Ramatra has that flexibility. Not to mention your ultimate is one of the most powerful ultimates in the game right now. And you combine those together, Ramatra has a lot of carry potential. Ramatra slots into a lot of DPS combos and support combos. And as long as you learn to adapt your play and make sure that you're getting value no matter what tank matchup you're up against, Ramatra is amazing. And Ramatra is looking better and better. Ramatra is an S tier character right now. And one of the big things that kind of pushed Ramatra over the edge is, while Rein was really like far and away like one of the most powerful things to do in ranked, just small changes to Rein and small changes to Cass, two characters that enabled a brawl, those characters getting slightly weaker, Ramatra shot up only because Ramatra wasn't that far away. It was kind of like if Rein was here and Ramatra was just right under the surface. Just that small nerf now makes Ramatra slightly better. But that doesn't mean that Rein isn't very strong. That doesn't mean that any of these characters are very strong. Honestly, tank balance is closer than we've seen in a long time. I think a lot of these characters are very, very close together, and all of them are viable for different reasons. Now, let's talk about Diva, because this is another character that, similar to Ramatra, doesn't really have that much true bad tank matchups. I mean, she's not good at interacting directly with Doom or Zarya or some of these characters, but that's the thing about Diva. You don't have to interact directly. A lot of the time, you can pick and choose your battles. You can go to the high ground, you can run away, you can find isolated instances, peel appropriately, and look for an opportunity to go and pivot with your team, or go kill an isolated target, or contest an ult, or contest a high ground. Diva is phenomenal, and she's also one of the only tanks that can do anything about a flyer, which is very, very frustrating from a tank's point of view. A lot of these tanks can't do anything, so you just gonna sit there and you just like hope your team, you create space for your team and you hope that they deal with the flyers. A lot of times that's not enough, and Diva for ranked in particular is one of the characters that you could deny their damage. If they're out of position, you could focus them. It's really, really good. Now, Diva is also just a character that is hard to play. I think that the higher in rank you go, the better and better Diva gets. The lower in rank you go, the worse and worse she gets relative to other characters, and you can get easier value on other characters. Still, from just a top-down point of view, Diva deserves S tier. That's just how strong she is. That's just how flexible she is. Realize that you need to be able to pivot at all times. Be able to pivot between a peel, which is a defensive style focusing on denial of enemy aggression and saving your teammates, to an aggressive dive or a contestation where you're just trying to deny space from an enemy high ground. Let's say a Hanzo keeps jumping on the high ground and you just force him down. You just don't give him that line of sight. This is what Diva is. She's the bodyguard, she's the protector, she's the denier. She keeps people in check and she punishes mistakes, and that's really what she is for. But yeah, Diva is definitely a weaker character the lower rank you go, but I think that she's a character worthwhile to learn. And while no matchup is free for her, I think that she can play against everything. If you play well, you have the capacity to skill diff any matchup. Now let's talk about Hog. Hog is the only tank on this list that I'll put in D tier. Hog is weak, is very, very weak. I think specifically on maps like WoW, you could get away with playing Hog, but players, if they're not making dumb mistakes into you, you're not going to get any value. Like, you really have to go aggressively take control of center and hope that they make a mistake into you, but you could still get destroyed by nades and sleeps. Now, luckily for you, sleeps don't sleep you as long anymore, which is kind of a buff, but regardless, Hog just feels a bit overpowered, and there's so many things that can save your team, there's so many things that can deny you. You just really are leaving a lot of value on the table when you're picking this character. This is kind of the worst tank in the game by far, and I think that while, yes, you could definitely hard carry a game if you're the far and away best player in the lobby, it only takes one good support, one good Ana, one good Zen, one good player on the enemy team to completely shut down your value. And that's frustrating, but it's true. Roadhog is D tier. Now, last but certainly not least, we have Hammond. Hammond is going to be right here. So Hammond is a strange one, because I think that you could probably justify Hammond actually being above Sigma because he is a bit more flexible. You could really play a Hammond on the majority of maps, but on the maps that Sigma's good in, he's kind of dominant. He's just kind of the best thing to do. So it's really a question of flexibility versus power. I think Sigma wins on the power front on those maps. Hammond wins on the flexibility front. Hammond, the thing that I see, the biggest mistake I see, I've been coaching a lot of Hammonds recently, is they don't slam in the line of sight of their team. And this seems kind of obvious, like, oh, obviously you're supposed to do that, but you'd be surprised how many Hammonds operate on a much faster time frame than the rest of their team. You got to realize that a lot of times on Hammond, you need to be setting up in a position, looking in third person, and just waiting for your team, looking at the enemy team, allowing your team to get ready so that when you're doing hard committal slams, you're doing it within line of sight of your team, and you're not getting too far ahead of them. But Hammonds will roll out, go in, slam down, and they're just way too far ahead. They're on a completely different time frame than the rest of their team, and I've coached, Hammonds all the way up to Masters, and they still do this stuff. So it's really important. When you learn to master Hammond, you can do so much on this character. Being able to be self-sufficient and not rely on as much heals means that you can play some weird support compositions that are powerful, like Zen Brig, where you couldn't play a Zen Brig with pretty much any other tank composition because it's not enough raw heals. But with Hammond, you don't care. So you get to have the ultimate pairing of a super strong bodyguard with a Discord, and a discorded target with you slamming in, but the Tracer coming in with you. It's just free kills. It's just amazing. And I think that the hardest thing to deal with on Hammond, just like with Doom, is really the DPS matchups. Some of them like Far Mercy, Sombra, May can be really annoying for Hammond in particular, and then of course like getting slept, getting discorded. These things are always going to be annoying, but still you have the means to play around many of these things, and I do think that Hammond is still really, really strong. But this is what I would say overall the meta is from the top down. This doesn't mean that just because these are S-tier characters doesn't necessarily mean that they are the definitive meta, because like I said, many of these characters down here have maps that they're good in, and if you're a flexible tank, you can play characters on the maps that they're good in and play other tanks on the maps, like on just general maps. But all in all, this is my tier list. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments down below. And let me know what tank you're planning to grind this season. Also, what buffs you want to see on the tanking category. Anyways, thank you so much for coming by. Hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you next time. What's up, guys? It's me, Coach Mills, and in this video we're going to be doing a DPS tier list in the new Season 4 meta. I wanted to wait a couple of days after to play a hefty amount of games on every single one of the roles, and I think I have a good idea of exactly what are the best and worst characters to play right now. So we're going to break down exactly what you should be grinding or avoiding, or grinding in spite of it being low on this list. You know how I feel. Every single character can get you to the highest ranks, but smash that like, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Let's get right to the video. Now, there are two major characters that I think are moving in position, and it really affects everything else. And these are really the only characters that I think their movement really matters, and it's Cassidy and Reinhardt. These characters, because they both receive nerfs, are overall weakening the power of certain compositions, which I'll get to in a little bit, and they are changing what are other characters that might see play and be opened up because these characters are falling down. Now, before we talk about how much that is and why that matters, let's talk about Cass, because this is where everything kind of stems from. Cass was, far and away, the best ranked DPS. He was just a freaking god with a huge amount of health pool, and he had a really, really strong grenade. And while he still has a really good grenade, he still can dink people, and he still has a fair amount of power level. It's not as far and away the best thing to be doing as it was before. This means that Cass is good, but not the best of the best. I would put him at the low A tier. I think he's still really solid, but he's not having a stranglehold over the meta, and especially because Ryan's a bit weaker, you can't force him nearly as much. I mean, you can still play him on good maps. Of course, we're going to go over that in our tank meta guide, and that's going to be in a couple of days. But overall, both of these characters kind of went together really well, so everything kind of pulls back a little bit, and we're putting Cassidy towards the bottom of A. Speaking of that, let's talk about Widowmaker. Now, Widowmaker is really strong. She's going to have, of course, polarized matchups. She's going to have some maps that she's amazing on, and some maps that she's not going to get as much value on. It really depends on the sightline. So every Sigma long-range poke map, Circle Royale, Junkertown, you know, Havana, and Hollywood second, all these maps are going to be great for Widow. With the map pools opening up, I do think that there are some maps that are just kind of like slam dunks for Widow, and some maps that you can kind of take it or leave it. I think that every hit scan player, though, should be able to flex to Widow at the very least, and I do think that Widow is very strong. The higher rank you go, the more dominant she becomes. There are characters that can keep her in check, characters like Wrecking Ball, characters like Sombra, but yeah, I'm putting her at the very top of A tier. It's going to look something like this by the time we're all said and done, but that's just a little bit of a spoiler for now. Now, let's jump to Sombra. Sombra's kind of strange, because while Sombra has historically been fairly weak, and I think that she's still not amazing, she does have some pretty good use cases. She's great at countering certain characters, like Doom. She's really good at shutting down Hammonds, Wrecking Balls. Of course, really good Wrecking Ball can still play around you, but she is good at stopping those things. Plus, I think she's actually a good second DPS in a dive. Because typically a dive is going to be centered around Tracer the majority of the time, and then that second DPS can be a lot of different things. I think that Sombra is really good in that slot, but besides that, Sombra does struggle, especially in ranked. I think that really she's only going to be fantastic if you're mastered at her, or you're playing her in the perfect situation. I'm going to put her at the top of C tier. Now, the next character that we got for you is Torb. And Torb is just kind of a super sleeper pick. I think he's really good as an anti-dive character, really great against characters like Tracer, actually decent at keeping some of these flyers in check, specifically Echo a bit better. And he's just going to be good with a lot of the tanks that see play. I mean, outside of dive tanks, I think he's great, and he can even be played with characters like D.Va if they play a more peel style. On high ground centric maps, he's going to struggle a bit.
but I think he's like a really, really solid pick. And for ranked play, I think he's actually really, really great. I'm actually going to put him above Cassidy in the A tier. That's how highly I think of this character. I think he's really that good. Now, we got to move on to Echo, because Echo's a character that has actually increased in power level quite a bit. Cassidy was one of her hardest matchups before. He didn't even need a pocket to be like a true challenge to you. Now, he still can threaten you, but you can threaten him a lot easier now because he has less health and his grenade doesn't do as much damage. So if you sneak up on him, you're not going to just get killed by getting shot and stuck and then you fly away and die. I think that Echo is actually pretty good right now. I'm going to put Echo in the B tier. I think that she's really close to the A tier. There's still too many powerful hit scans, Ashe with pockets, soldiers, and things like that for her to be truly unleashed. Still, a really good pick, and I think a bit of a sleeper pick right now. Speaking of sleeper picks, we have Reaper. I think that this character is a little bit of a sleeper pick. I think he's actually strong in the right compositions. I think with any character that wants to emit a brawl at any time, Ramatra, Zarya, you could even play him with a Diva. Junker Queen's probably his best pick. I know Junker Queen's pretty weak in the meta, but on certain maps, you could definitely force a brawl with Reaper Junker Queen. I think it's really strong. The only true downside to Reaper, I think, is that you have to kind of play him with the Lucio. That's where he's best. And you don't see as much Lucio play at the higher ranks of play. There's a lot of supports that are super strong right now, and it's kind of hard to choose between all of them. And I think that Lucio is kind of fallen down from his grace. But still, I think that Reaper is a bit underrated. Still pretty powerful. He never really will die to a Hammond, so I think he's also good in the anti-dive in a lot of ways. And yeah, I think that a lot of people just underrate this character. I'm going to be doing a Reaper guide soon, and yeah, I kind of want to prove everyone wrong about this character because I think he's actually really, really good. He's just a little bit underrated. Now we're going to talk about Tracer. It's not really going to be that much of a surprise where I'm going to put Tracer. Everyone kind of knows where Tracer's at. Tracer's just the best. She's just the best thing that you could be doing. She's incredibly powerful. She's consistent. She's good at holding space. She's good at taking 1v1. She's good at diving in. There's just so many things that she can do. But the thing that you need to understand about Tracer is that she's hard. She's not easy. She is super, super hard. She might be the hardest character in the game to master. At the very least, top 3. And that means that your value is going to go up like linearly to your skill on this character. There's not going to be any free wins on this character. You're never going to get free wins. Think about everything that can freaking threaten you. Everything in the game can one-tap you. Ashe's headshots, Hanzo's can freaking headshot you. Damage boosted body shots can kill you. You can get freaking dogged on by Zen, dogged on by 2 shots on Ana, killed by freaking Kiriko. Freaking Brig now has her super shield that can stun you, and she's gonna play keep away. Every character in the game is out to get you, and still you are the best character in the game, but it's directly proportional to your skill. That's the thing. And of course, I'm gonna be making another updated advanced Tracer guide for a lot of you that really want to take your Tracer to the next level. But yeah, Tracer just slots into so many different compositions. He's fantastic right now. I think one of the linchpins of the meta, a very, very strong part, especially the ranked meta, is a good Tracer plus a Zen. Discording tanks and then being able to play in a safe position and constantly shoot a tank from an alternate angle behind them or to the side of them makes it so tanks just can't do anything. You mark dooms, you mark balls, you just mark characters, and you just make them hate themselves. Like, they just hate life. They can't do anything. And you just give your team such a huge advantage in the tank. I think it's so freaking strong, and I think it's like a lot of really easy ranked wins. And then being able to learn when to mark certain things to prevent a dive or go and try to dive synergistically with your team. I mean, that's what Tracer's all about. And Tracer's just the best. She's at the very top. I'm putting her in the S tier. Speaking of S tier, we have Sojourn. And this one's going to be a little bit interesting, but I think that Sojourn is back on top. And this is a weird thing to say. This is weird because a lot of people thought that Sojourn's kind of time has fallen. We all knew that Sojourn was still really good, but didn't see as much play. But with Cassidy kind of becoming a bit weaker, especially in the head-to-head, Sojourn looks a lot better. And I think that really Sojourn, a lot of the community need to remove the idea that you have to play Sojourn with the pocket. I understand getting those one-shot headshots with the Mercy pocket is cool, right? But the utility that you're giving up by playing a Mercy, especially when we get to the highest ranks of play, you're giving up so much. Think about all the super powerful freaking supports right now. We got Kiriko, Zen, freaking Bap, Brig, Ana. I mean, there's just so much power. There's just so many good pieces of utility. And you can play Sojourn without a pocket. They do it in the pro scene all the time. And I think that one of the things that makes Sojourn so good is that Sojourn is versatile. You can play Sojourn in a poke, you can play Sojourn in a dive, you can play even Sojourn in a brawl. Like, you can play Sojourn in any composition in ranked. I think she's the most flexible DPS probably in the game right now. And that means that you should probably see her a lot. Now, I understand that this character is hard to learn, and it's hard to extract the max value from, but one of the strongest characters in the game right now, and definitely one of the best DPS in the game right now. I'm putting her in the S tier, and I think that she really, really deserves it. Very, very strong. Don't sleep on Sojourn this season. Now, let's talk about Pharah. Pharah is still in the B tier, but it's a little bit of a caveat because I think that Pharah can be even up to A on the right maps with the pocket. Of course, you're going to want to be playing this character with the pocket. I think that Echo, all in all, is going to be better without a pocket. But both these characters are definitely going to want a pocket. And I think that that's what makes these characters a bit weaker. If we look at them in the head-to-head compared to like Sojourn, right? Sojourn can be good without a pocket, while these characters really need it a lot more, especially Pharah. Sojourn doesn't really have any bad maps, while these characters do have a lot of bad maps. And I think that the biggest thing that you can just look at is, even if on some maps these characters are close in power level, it's about the amount you see of these characters, how dominant they are throughout the maps that really matters. So yeah, I'm moving it like this, and I think this is pretty fair so far. Speaking of which, let's talk about Mei. And Mei's an interesting one because Mei was actually really strong before, really strong before, and she really played in the Brawl meta. And I think that the Brawl meta is still here. Like, we could still play Brawl. You could still play Ryan, you could still play Mei, you could still play Lucio, you could still play Bap, but something that has kind of happened is with some of the weakened states of characters like Cass and the weakened states of characters like Ryan, slightly weaker, there's more vulnerability. And there's other tanks that have kind of risen. Characters like Ramatra have risen to be better in the head-to-head from a value proposition when you're picking between Ryan and Ramatra. Now, Ramatra looks a bit better. And when we're looking at Cass, there's other DPS that look a bit better when you compare them in the head-to-head. Some of these small changes can really have a cascade effect. And as a result, Mei kind of got the short end of that stick a little bit, getting hurt relative to these characters. Now, I think she's still fantastic. I think she's still really, really strong. But I'm only going to put her at the bottom of A tier, a bit underneath Cassidy, because she's not nearly as flexible as Cassidy. But if you're playing any comp that has a front line up against another front line, you know, if you're playing any comp that is like Ryan v Ryan, Arissa, Ramatra, any of those, even if you randomly see a Hog, a Zarya, like, Mei's going to be really good, and she's also good against a Hammond. So, yeah, I think that she's really strong. And for ranked in particular, I would say that she's actually probably way underplayed relative to how good she is. She doesn't see that much play in ranked, even though I think that if you have like a brain for the game, like you think about the game, not necessarily the mechanical skill, but the game sense aspect of the game, you can just carry on this character. Wall is one of the most powerful pieces of utility, period, and I would put her all the way up here. Now, let's talk about Soldier, because I think that Soldier is in a weird state. I think he's strong, but he's never really been meta. In pro play, we don't see him, and there's a reason for that. He's not a powerful character at the highest ends of what a character is capable of. So if we think about every character, we think about their value ceiling and their value floor. The value ceiling on Soldier, as everyone gets to the upper ends of mechanical skill and play, becomes a lot worse. But as we get to like the no one really gets to those ceilings until even sometimes past ranked play, even like past GM1, past top 500. Because like if we look at this, Pharah sees like exponentially more play than Soldier, but if we look at a ranked meta, Soldier looks better. So like for a ranked meta, I would probably put Soldier just up here, you know, somewhere like right along these lines. But for a pro meta, he would be like really low, like down here or even down here, because he sees like almost no play. I still think that if we take the average of the two, we're gonna put him at the top of B. I think he's still powerful, but yeah, I don't necessarily think that he is as strong when you fully master the character. Still really good. He's really flexible, so I think that in a lot of ways he is a little bit like a worse Sojourn that has the same amount of flexibility, but still a powerful character that can definitely carry you to Grandmaster or above if you learn to master him and you learn good tracking aim. Now, let's talk about Hanzo, because Hanzo has kind of silently become good. It's weird. I think that Hanzo is about here. And the thing about Hanzo is that he's good against a lot of these brawl compositions, and he's really good in poke as well on a lot of the sniper maps. He can kind of keep Widows in check and fight other characters. So he's good with the Sigma. He's good with the Ramatra. I think that the only thing that he kind of struggles with is up against dive. Hanzo doesn't have a lot of tools to stop dive. Now you can definitely outskill. Characters like Tracer, and you can definitely make a lot of plays with him no matter what composition you're with or what you're up against if you adopt your playstyle or adapt your playstyle. But he's really going to want to play more in these poke comps. So it's going to be kind of like Widow, but a bit more situational in some situations. So he's a bit like Widow, although he has more flexibility. It's not quite as much power level. I think he's still really good, and he's a great DPS to have if you're a projectile DPS player. I think that basically if you're a projectile DPS player or a flex DPS player, you need to have Hanzo in your kit, because on some of these sniper maps, you can't whip out Mei, Echo, Pharah, even Torb, Genji, Junkrat. You can't play any of these characters on these sniper maps. Like, you need Hanzo. Like, if you're a projected DPS player, you need him. That's the only character that you can play. So, yeah, I think that he deserves, you know, top of B. So, I think he's really strong. Now, let's talk about Junkrat. Junkrat. And, this one might get me a little bit of heat, because I don't think Junkrat is particularly good right now. I think that he's actually weaker than Reaper right now. I think he's even weaker than Sombra. Junkrat is a bit underpowered right now. I definitely think he still has a place, and you can definitely get him to work on the right map and the right choke point. But he's going to be more defensively sided. He's not going to be as consistent at trying to go for plays himself, especially after the mine combo nerf.
I will be sure to
and
get this
all
on
in
the
all, I
next
think he has some really bad
Darnassus.
matchups too, with
Temple
both
of the
tanks
Moon
and
has given me some
DPS,
funds
and
to
even
hand out
supports.
for
I'm
assistance.
going to put Junkrat at
Please
the
have
bottom
some
of
with our
C tier.
thanks.
I think that
Your
you could
success
justify
here
a buff to
emboldens
this
me to
character,
offer
make
you
him
a
a bit
chance
better,
to
because
aid the
right
Temple
now
of the
he just
Moon
seems kind
further,
of map
if
specific,
you are
and that's
interested.
kind of the way he's always been. Now, let's talk about Sim. Sim's another character that's a bit strange. She did see a little bit of pro play in Brawl, but for the most part, Sim is kind of a very strange character. She's versatile in the fact that you can play her both to deny space, putting the turrets around choke points and things like that to deny an enemy push, and you could be more proactive and go teleport in with your TP bombs and things like that. And I do think that Sim is like one of the best ranked grinders, kind of like Tor. Really, really strong. And if this was purely for ranked, I would probably put her up here. I would say for just, you know, a combination of the time she gets played in ranked and pro play, I'm going to put her at the bottom of A. I think she's actually a little bit slept on, and I think more than often she's going to see, she's just going to be able to work in a lot of different situations if you learn how to master her. So I'm putting her here. Genji. Now, this one's going to be another one that people probably won't be able to fully agree on here, I don't think. Genji is kind of bad. He's kind of bad. I've been playing a little bit this season, and there was a lot of things that are hard to play around. Now, if you're a god at Genji, you can definitely make him work, and I think that Genji can work well with the dive composition, so for these reasons, I can't just completely cut him out. But he's just, you know, kind of the maybe the best of the worst is what I would call him. I'm gonna put him at the top of C tier. That's what I'm gonna put Genji. I think really the only time you're gonna want to play this character is if the opponents are not running, like mainly like Brig, Moira, Mei, Sim, any of the characters that are hard for you to challenge, and you're playing a dive comp. I mean, of course, Genji players are going to know when and where they can whip him out, but I would say if you're one-tricking Genji this season, good freaking luck. I just think there's a lot better options. And at the very least, Tracer is like so much better at doing everything that you would want to do on Genji. That is just crazy. Yeah, I'm putting him at the C tier, and I think that he's just a bit better than these characters. Sombra, of course, has like more direct power in her good situations, but I think she's a bit weaker overall stat-wise. So yeah, I'm gonna put both of these in C tier. These are all playable, by the way, perfectly playable, just not anywhere near like the level of these characters up top. Bastion is kind of good in the right situation. He's kind of good. I mean, I think that he's still really easy to counter, but the trick is to whip him out in a very particular situation and get value with him. And I also think that he's one of the few ways to interact with certain tanks that kind of feel like you can't do anything about them. Nemesis form feels like you can't do anything about them. Hammond sometimes can feel like a nightmare. Zaryas that get high charge and just go in. And then of course, Bastion is okay. I actually think I slept on him a bit in the past. So yeah, I'm gonna put him at the bottom of B tier. I think I'm gonna put him here. I think this is fair, but only in the specific situations that you would normally play him. He's gonna be very situational, but I think the power level is high enough to justify him here. You can make the argument that he maybe should be at the top of C. I'm gonna put him here. I think it's okay. Ashe is great. I would say that Ashe is honestly, we're gonna put her up here. I don't think she deserves S with the other two, but Ashe is fantastic. With a pocket, without a pocket, super powerful, and just really capable of outputting a ton of consistent pressure. And I think that she's just really good. I think that she's really good in general, and I think that she actually plays well and against dive. Or plays well against dive, plays well with a lot of poke compositions, plays well with even brawl compositions. She doesn't really have any bad maps. She doesn't really have any bad, true bad matchups, maybe outside of Widow, but if you have a Pocky, you can make that up because you can one-shot it in the head. All in all, I think that this is a pretty fair tier list. I think that you could make the argument that perhaps Sombra deserves a higher placement. You can make the argument that maybe Bastion deserves a lower one. But for the most part, this is how I see the new DPS meta going forward. Definitely let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments down below. And let me know what DPS you plan to grind this season. I'm really curious about it. But thank you so much for coming by. Hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you next time.
Hello, really die easily. However, Hog's Hook is very valuable against Doomfist and Wrecking Ball, and he can survive a discard art with his heal. From the Master rank or above, Master, Grandmaster, and Top 500, and another tier list for the metal ranks: Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Diamond. So, without further ado, let's get to the video. Since this tier list will have 2 ranks for people who are in high ranks and the rest of 99% of people who play this game, the tier list will be in alphabetical order and by row. So, let's start with the tanks. First, we have D.Va. This hero is simply a very solid tank. If someone is looking for a tank that does everything, this is the one. D.Va only weakness is prolonged fights. So, heroes like Orisa, Roadhog, and Reinhardt can last a long time in a fight, making D.Va struggle a little bit. If the other team has any other tank beside these 3, she will be a great addition to your team. Zarya will also give you a lot of trouble by putting her bubbles on whoever you focus and going through your defenses with her laser. But since Zarya is weak at the moment, it'll be fine. D.Va is also great against Winston, that you probably see a lot in this season. So that gives a solid B tier for D.Va for both groups of players. Next hero is Doomfist, and he perhaps is the hero with the highest variation in tier rank, as he requires hundreds of hours invested solely in him and several thousand of hours invested in the game to take advantage of him. Doomfist is an excellent tank player against all tanks that are played right now, but he's very difficult to play. That's why I give him A rank if you're Masters Plus, and I put him in C among Bronze to Diamond rank. The thing is, when he's played at lower ranks, most of his players can't make up a difference. They don't know how to work together with their team, or even if they do, their team just can't keep up with him. He's ranked higher for players in higher ranks because they understand how the game works and have a better mechanical skill to take advantage of the hero. Another thing is that Doomfist is one of the few tanks that can play against Zenyatta, who, as you will soon see, is one of the strongest characters right now. If you want to learn on how to play with Doomfist, I'm working on a tutorial for him, so you should subscribe because you don't want to miss that. Now let's talk about Junker Queen. The main problem with Junker Queen is that most tanks are strong against her, such as Reinhardt, Roadhog, and Orisa, and especially Zarya. Junker Queen has an excellent ultimate ability to deny Zenyatta's ultimate, but until then, she struggles with his Orb of Discard. I would only play Junker Queen against Winston, as she's very strong against him, so Junker Queen stays at B tier for both ranks. The next tank is Orisa, and she simply doesn't die. However, the nerf to her weapon in the last season hurt her a lot, as she can no longer eliminate enemies across the map. But as I said before, Orisa simply doesn't die, and that may be enough for you to get value from this hero. So Orisa receives a tier A for the metal ranks, but she receives a tier C starting from Master. Having a hero who simply doesn't die is not enough for those ranks. Now let's talk about Ramatra. The nerfs he received on his ultimate simply did nothing. His ultimate still lasts for 20 seconds, which is enough time for a whole team fight, and not to mention the rest of his kit is very good. The only thing Ramatra lacks is ability to heal enemies away from his team, but apart from that, he has everything: range, damage, crowd control, durability, shields, and even mobility in his Nemesis farm. That's that's why he's ranked A for both ranks. Next, Reinhardt. This hero received massive buffs in the previous season, which took him from a meme to one of the best heroes in the game. However, in this season, he was adjusted again. Now, his Fire Strike ends solo a hero with 200 health, and the amount of his health was greatly reduced, making it harder for Reinhardt to play aggressively. But his ultimate still has a higher stun duration, and the cooldown time of his charge is still fast. He's an easy hero to take advantage of, which places him in tier A for ranks below Master and rank B for people above Master. He's only ranked lower here because Reinhardt struggles against heroes like Wrecking Ball, Doomfist and Zenyatta. Since these three heroes will be played here, Reinhardt cannot be too high.
Hey Tank Mains, if you're looking to carry your team as a tank and win some more matches, Ark is currently working on an amazing video where he's going to spill all the secrets on how to do just that. Trust me, those secrets will level up your tank game significantly, so make sure to hit that subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss out on this golden opportunity. Now let's get right back into the video.
Let's move on to Hawk. This hero suffered quite a bit with his deserved nerfs in Season 3, but he's not as terrible as many think. He can still pull you out of your team and into his own, and he can tank everything just like Orisa. He doesn't really die easily. However, Hog's hook is very valuable against Doomfist and Wrecking Ball, and he can survive a discard art with his heal, ranking him B for both player groups. Now we have Sigma, who has the highest amount of damage at medium range among the tanks. His balls deal a lot of damage, and his damage is also in an area. However, Sigma lost his ability to instantly eliminate someone with his rock, in exchange for a longer stun. He's great on maps like Circuit Royale and Junkertown, which are longer maps where he can use his long range. The hero is great for all players, giving him a rank A for both player groups. Additionally, Sigma can survive against Zenyatta and is strong against Brigitte. He will probably be one of the most played tanks in this season, but his weakness is fast characters like Tracer, Genji and Wrecking Ball, so be careful against them. Next is Winston, who will probably be one of the strongest tanks in this meta. I'm just not sure because Zenyatta is strong against him, and when paired with a Reaper, Diva or Bastion, Winston won't be able to play the game. But he's the hero to play in the dive composition, which will be the strongest composition in this meta, so he gets an A for both player groups. I just don't rank him higher on this list because of these three heroes that can easily counter him. Now we have Wrecking Ball. This hero I thought would end up dominating all the ranks in the previous season, but he's a difficult hero to learn on how to play, so many end up giving up playing with him. Nevertheless, he's extremely strong, and piloted by someone who has dedicated to playing with him, he's the strongest tank at the moment, and no other tank comes close to him. So if you want to dominate the season, I have a tutorial to help you to learn on how to play with the Wrecking Ball. The link to the video is up there and also in the video description. Other reasons on why this tank is very strong at the moment is that he is very well paired with the Zenyatta and a Brigitte, because the hamster doesn't need any healing from his team. In addition, he is very strong against the enemy Zenyatta. The only heroes that are strong against him are Doomfist, which is a very difficult to play hero, so there will be few people playing with him, Sombra, who is somewhat weak at the moment, and Brigitte, who as you will see is one of the strongest heroes at the moment. But that's about it. So he receives an S for players below Master and S++ for those above Master. And now the last tank is Zarya. Definitely this hero exists. She does Zarya things, protects her team, has a lot of damage, can fight very well with an Orisa, Diva, and counters Hog with her bubbles. She's also strong against Junker Queen, but loses badly to Reinhardt, gets beaten by Sigma, does nothing against Wrecking Ball and Winston. To tell the truth, you can only play Zarya if there's a Hog, Junker Queen, or Diva on the other side causing problems, because the only way to play Zarya at the moment is to give her bubbles to your allies and protect them from key abilities. Zarya is the weakest tank at the moment, so she receives a rank D in both ranks. Now let's move on to damage heroes. First we have Ashe. When paired with Mercy or Zen, she becomes very strong. Ashe is the primary counter to Echo and Pharah, and her dynamite puts a lot of pressure on the enemy team. Bob is only second to the best DPS ultimate because of the existence of Soldier. However, Ashe struggles against Wrecking Ball and Winston. But if your team has a Sigma and the enemy team isn't playing a dive comp, Ashe will be one of the best DPS heroes to play. She simply is very solid, receiving A tier in both ranks. Next we have Bastion. He's very strong at the moment and few people are playing with him. He can melt anything, and when paired with a Zenyatta, the enemy tank cannot play. Bastion is excellent against Wrecking Ball, who is the current meta tank. Not just because he can melt him, but also because he can survive his damage. The only downside to Bastion is that his aim needs to be on point, and you have to save your minigun for the right moment. There are very few heroes who are strong against him. Take care of your positioning and use your minigun at the right time, and you go far with this hero. For ranks below Master, he's tier S, one of the best damage heroes, and for ranks starting from Master, he receives tier A. People playing here know how to play against his weakness and wait for him to use his minigun before fully engaged. Now Cassidy, with the buffs to his range, he becomes more playable. He's played so much that he received justified nerfs in this season. Now he has 25 less health and his grenades deals less damage. You can no longer stick grenades on someone and eliminate them with just one shot. You either need a grenade and a critical hit or to hit 2 shots. This hero is very solid. He lost some of his oppressiveness, but he remains very strong. I leave him in tier A for both groups of players. Next up is Echo, as we are in the meta where Dev is strong and Echo is very good against Zen and Brig. In addition to being good with these 2 characters on your own team, she'll be a great hero to play this season. However, she struggles a bit against hit scan characters like McCree and Widowmaker, so she receives tier A in both ranks. Now Genji, he's a dive hero, he can fight with most meta characters, his worst enemy Cassidy received nerfs, Zenyatta pair well with Genji, and Genji is great against Zenyatta. Maybe we can go back to playing Genji this season. I give him an A rank for both ranks. But there's a catch. Your team must be playing dive with Winston or Ball, Zenyatta, Ana, and characters who can play alongside you. If that's not the case, Genji becomes a meme and I don't recommend playing with him. Next up is Hanzo, a character who can kill you with just one arrow, very strong in my opinion. The only downside is that he struggles a lot against Widowmaker, Ball, and Winston. But if the enemy team is not playing with these 3 characters, Hanzo is great in any composition of your team. So I'll give him an A rank in both ranks. If you're good with this hero and there are no one or more of these 3 counters on the other side, the chances are that he can carry the game. Now Junkrat, he has only one way to play in this moment, which is flank red. You go unnoticed in some way, either by flying with your mines or walking crouch until you reach the enemy supports and blow them up with your grenade and C4. This is the only way you will take advantage of this hero. Spamming in the middle of the enemy team with your weapon won't result in much. Maybe it will work in bronze and silver ranks, because people in those ranks play without looking at their computer screen. But beyond that, you won't find much useful in this hero. This is one of the few heroes that will receive a low rank, C rank in both ranks. Even if you mastered flank red, why not play with any other hero that can flank? Now we have Mei. Usually in our Overwatch tier list, Mei has always been considered somewhat of a meme. She's a very unique DPS, trading damage and killing ability for utility for her team. She can protect her supports very well because nobody wants to be near a Mei. She can survive almost anything, but I don't know how Mei is just so strange. If you play Mei, you lose damage for your team, making it difficult to rank her. I'll put her in rank B because I honestly don't know where to put this character. If you play a lot of Mei, let us know in the comments what your rank is and how your experience with her is. Next is Pharah. In long ranks, yes, Pharah Mercy dominates, but in high ranks it's just target practice. Pharah is very vulnerable because she's a very large and very easy to hit, unlike Echo. So if you are in low ranks, you can play with Pharah to your heart's content, because people simply can't hit their shots, giving her A rank in metal ranks and B tier in ranks from master and above, just because she's a good dive character. Now Reaper. This character is very solid and he does his job perfectly. He has a good ultimate. To be honest, people aren't playing with him much because he's just too boring to play. But he has great DPS. If you can flank with him, good for you. But if you feel like you can't reach the enemy team without taking too much damage from afar, then I think it's better for you to switch to something better. So I give him A tier in both ranks. Reaper has his weakness, but he deals very well with the rest of the game's meta characters. The only character you have to be really afraid of when playing Reaper is Widow. Now Sojourn. I'm seeing less and less of these characters in my game, which is great, but Sojourn remains very oppressive. I think people are just tired of playing with her, which is great, because she continues to be one of the best DPS in the game, especially paired with Mercy. She's a character that requires very good aim, so she cannot be ranked very high in low ranks. But in high ranks, she's a very good DPS to play in any composition. so she receives a tier B in metal ranks and tier A in ranks or above, rising to S if you have a mercy boosting you. Now let's talk about Soldier. He's a jack of all trades but master of none character. He received buffs to his weapon, making it easier to control, so he's very easy to get value with, similar to Murder. That's why I give him S rank in metal ranks and B rank in ranks above master. This is the character that everyone should know how to play. I even have a tutorial for him. Links are in the screen and in the description. And another thing, if you are tilted playing as DPS, feeling like you're not doing anything or playing badly, take this character and play with him for the rest of the game. There is no way you won't be useful playing with him, and since he's very simple and you're tilted, you kind of reset your mind for the next game. Now, Sombra. This character is a meme. She's there to kill Widows and Zenyatas and annoy Wrecking Ball and Doomfist. The buff she received on her weapon helped her not to be considered F tier, and since those 4 characters I mentioned are well played at the moment, she does have a use, but you still prefer to have another character on your team. That's why she gets the D tier in both ranks. Next we have Symmetra in metal ranks. She's very strong because her turrets don't miss, and players in metal ranks can't hit anyone properly. She doesn't have much range. In some maps like control maps, she can even be S tier for both ranks because those maps are naturally more tight. And Symmetra's damage is very high if she manages to get to you. However, in meta ranks, people tend to ignore this and try to fight you up close, even being a Symmetra. So she's A tier for meta ranks and B in ranks above Master. Only use her here if you are in control maps. After her, Thor, the dwarf. This hero plays himself. You throw your turret and go to sleep. If you hate Kiriko's like I do, you will like playing with this character. Because every time you see a Kiriko ulting, you throw your ult on top of hers, making her ult useless. That's why you play Torb in high ranks, and also to annoy Tracers. Other than that, he's not very good. Only he is also very tanky with his E, so he can survive a Wrecking Ball and Winslow. In fact, Torb is one of the biggest counters to them. If you are in meta rank, Torb is A tier. His turret is a better player than everyone in both teams. And if you are in high ranks, Torb is C tier. He has
Hello everybody, I'm Coach Tickety, and today we're going to be breaking down all the tanks in Overwatch 2 for Season 4 of Competitive. Now, there weren't too many changes here to the tank line, so it's probably going to be a familiar-ish looking tier list, but that's okay, we can spend expensive resources and make it. I really wish Ramatra wasn't as good as he actually is, but he simply has tools for every situation, as well as strong poke damage, close range burst. He simply is ready for any situation, has very strong cooldowns, a very simple and powerful ultimate. He's just kind of got some of everything, and he should be able to thrive in many situations on any map with any team composition and still be able to find some win conditions that benefit him specifically. And that will round out my tier list of all the tanks in Overwatch 2 for Season 4. Until we get some more tanks or until we see some people reworked, I don't see this list changing too much. So again, it's probably hello every single game.
To maintain our link to the mainland, we have hippogriffs constantly flying between Rutheran Village and Darkshore.
Testing.
Is there not a website?
Where would you like to fly to?
See you around.
I love that alchemy slide on the right, dude.
So, chat, everybody, if you can do an S, A, B, C, or D, how do you think alchemy is going to rank in Circuit 1 at level 22.5? Just using all your previous vanilla WoW knowledge. How OP is this profession going to be in Circuit 1? Not at level 60, not later on, just for these 4 dungeons. What's everybody think?
Depends. What level can you use Lesser Invispot?
Ooh, it's level 23. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. So,
23.
23. So Lesser Invispot might actually see some action after the first dungeon's cleared.
Yeah.
Insane,
so they can't use it on the first dungeon though. Those rascals in Circus.
But it's a 10-minute cooldown, so they might get 1 or 2 uses out of each dungeon if they plan it correctly. But I see a bunch of A's.
I don't think S tier fits for Circuit 1. I don't think it's. I think it scales a lot harder later. Like I think NG's going to be nuts soon.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's nuts for Circuit 1.
And the fact that you can't even use lesser invis pot right away, you have to wait till 23, and then also, you know, the regular invis pot you can't use because it's way high level. And the thing is, Gray, you can use minor agility, the agility potion, the 15 one, or no?
No, I think that requires like level 28. So we'll see that in the next circuit.
Yeah, so that one's GG. So what's the damage increase you get from NG right now? Do you get any damage increase from NG?
Greetings! I'm a gnome mage trainer, and you're a mage.
Other than just grenades.
Arcane explosion, arcane inline, fire
No.
blast.
Oh no, not NG. Sorry, Al.
Oh, you're talking about alchemy. Oh, does it increase? You get 4 strength. 4 strength is all. Yeah, that's like the only offensive potion that you have. You could farm the 8 strength elixir, and then you got to get lucky with a 4 agi or an 8 agi world drop. But I think those are the only offensive potions. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're gonna go over it today in a second.
That's pretty dog water, bro. That's the only offensive gain you get.
And considering fishing, we can fish up, and like vendors, we can get all of our healing and mana potions that we need. Alchemy, does it diminish later on? I think it's just gonna be. Is it even good? Is it even good right now?
I don't know, dude. I mean, the thing is, okay, if you get the 4 strength 4 agi, does that? Can you scroll on top of that, or doesn't it take the scroll? The scroll uses the same buff slot.
They may not stack. I guess it depends. I feel like they don't, though. Yeah. Oh, Parla's just laughing. Parla, this is for Circuit 1, brother. We're not talking about 2, 3, 4, 5. I think Alchemy is going to be good, though. Alchemy, it's
don't let Parla bully you, bro. Don't let Parla bully you.
They're just on that copium because they are all alchemy, okay? So the fire protection pot is a big draw, but there's not much fire damage. It's only dead mines. Nature protection pot.
It's too high level, so it doesn't see any use.
You can't use it at all?
Can't use it at all. Frost protection's too high. The only ones you can use are holy protection, fire protection, and shadow protection.
We're missing something. We're missing something. What are we thinking? What are we missing?
We're missing something offensive. Oil of immolation? Can you use that already?
Well, we'll look at it. We'll look at it.
Is it agi pots? Is it swiftness pots? Like what?
Yeah, maybe swiftness spot. That's probably like, I mean, you could think of that as offensive if you're just swiftness spotting through the dungeon.
Well, we'll go over it in a minute.
There's no shot everybody has swiftness spot recipe. It drops in their team.
Yeah, alchemy's definitely gonna be good.
It's swim pot.
Yeah, swim pot's alright.
Swim pot for what?
Yeah,
it's gotta be swim pot.
Yeah, it's alright. I guess it takes the 2-minute cooldown from everything else, which is.
We're getting trolled. Whatever. They're trolling us. They're just saying we don't know, but we know that there's nothing.
Yeah, we know. We know it's swim pot.
Yep.
All right, let's just bite the bullet. What do you guys think for engineering?
So we're gonna go ahead and put alchemy in what tier? F tier?
I think A.
F. It's not even a tier.
Okay.
What do you guys think about NG? Is this just an easy S?
For Circuit 1, Cargos, do you want to talk about math real quick?
Yes.
If you have 4 people with engineering, please do the math for the people.
Yes, I'm one of the least quantitative people on the planet, but according to my calculations here, if you all at least have heavy dynamites, you know, we're gonna go ahead and take the median, 128 to 172. We're talking about $150-ish per dynamite, times however many you're doing it. So on our team, we only have 3, but let's say in theory you had all 5 NG, right? That's 750 damage on one volley. One volley of dynamite. 750 damage. I think the elites in Dead Mines have like 750 health. So it's a ton of damage. It's only a 1-minute cooldown on dynamite too. It's not like other things with 2-minute cooldown. You can use advanced target dummies. I think you could probably use even the masterwork ones if you could get high enough NG skill. All those dummies don't have a level requirement to them. It's all just.
I'm gonna be honest, those lesser invis pots, bro. If anybody tries to do these skips, if we have 3 engineers, we can literally just target dummies, sit on an evade spot, and use it as a skip. It's not as effective at that point. You may as well just clear the mobs, but we could use target dummies to either skip ahead or just if we overpull, like I think we're going to. I think target dummies give us a lot of leeway. Super safe. And yeah, it seems like NG scales really well in this first circuit. And it probably stays good, but definitely
you get offense, you get defense, you get CC. Like we talked about that gnomish remote. That could be really cool, man. You CC one of those pets, and I don't know how long you actually get control of it for. Imagine you get it for like 15 minutes or something. That would be insane.
Yeah.
But
we'll do a deep dive on NG in a second. Let's take a look at our secondary professions. Let's go cooking. Just what do you guys think about cooking? How does it affect us in this first circuit? What are the benefits of it? The first thing I'm thinking of is maybe Thistle Tea for rogues. I'm not even sure if I've heard of a rogue doing the Thistle Tea quest yet. But
I feel like all of the this seems weird, but I feel like all of like the tertiary professions are all just S tier, right? Because you can have all of them, right? And they like you can have you don't have to give up anything.
I disagree.
You disagree? Okay.
Yeah, because Circuit 1, we're all hard stuck on wool. No one's bringing wool bandages. If you use wool, if you made wool to make bandages, you might have griefed yourself. I kind of griefed myself.
Not dynamite.
Yeah, good point.
You know, use it for professions. And the thing is, like, if you're pumping and everybody's like leaning into the content and you're all geared to shit, are you really gonna be first aiding? Like, I don't know. First aid's only. I have first aid, but I only have one stack of linen just in case I have like a poison on me. I'm out of line of sight, and DCs or something. I can give one bandage. But I don't know how good first aid's gonna be in Circuit 1. Cooking is really good too, but tea. I think rogues are going NG. They're not gonna go alk. So alk herb, you know what I mean? So like the rogues can't even make tea. Because they're going NG.
Is it? Do they need Fade Leaf to make this tea? I forget. What's the herb that they need?
They need Fade Leaf. So, but at the same time, cooking is an amazing profession because that's how you money launder in hardcore. Or maybe that's not the right term, but that's how you print money. I mean, you just take all the stuff you're fishing up. Fishing is already such a huge deal, right? And then you can cook it up to further increase your margin with cooking. Yeah. So it makes you a ton of money. It allows you to.
I think that it's really good early on. I think you get like 8 stam 8 spirit now, but like next circuit you can get 12 stam 12 spirit, and then you just kind of have 12 stam 12 spirit the entire time. And so, I mean, it's fine. It's a good stat. Everybody should have it. For what it is, the fact that everyone can have it and it's a small buff. I mean,
yeah, I think cooking is pretty good for sure. What I meant by that, sorry, just to clarify, is like, yeah, you need Swift Thistle to make Thistle Tea, right? But in order to get Swift Thistle, you need to be herb. So if you're herb, you're gonna go herb out. That's kind of what I meant. So like, Bobka's NG. I don't know if any of the rogues are gonna go out.
I see. Yeah.
So like all the rogues are gonna.
We'll put it in A tier for now. So let's look at first aid since we just mentioned it. After Cargos' description of it, I kind of like C. Not great, but has a place. It's useful, but no. Sorry.
First aid. Sorry.
First aid. We changed the slide. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a world where you're going to be bandaging.
It's really funny that you said that if you used your wool cloth bandages to try to get to silk, you basically wasted your wool and you can't use it on dynamite now, right? Yeah, which is a weird place to be in. But if you didn't start grinding wool cloth at like level 14 or 15, it was pretty hard to get your first aid leveled up to silk cloth and then still have enough for like all your dynamite.
Oh, anti-venom. That's one thing I griefed myself on. I didn't make any anti-venom. I coulda. Maybe I still can. Maybe there's some 15 spiders in Stone Talon, but anti-venom could be useful.
I mean, dude, if you're first aiding, you're not going forward. Like, if you're first aiding, you're kind of losing, bro. Like, you're standing still.
Yeah, true.
What are you doing?
First aiding.
You might as well be, like, drink walking.
First aid, but anti-venom would be more useful than even the bandage. I'm like, because isn't it instacast? Like, so if you do get, like, a poison splat on you or something, you just press it as you're running and take it off you. It's not too bad. I fucked up.
I shouldn't see first aid on this list, but we're gonna put first aid in C if we had it. Let's look at the next one. Fishing. How does everybody feel about fishing? Fishing in Circuit 1.
Circuit 1.
It gives you access to potions. People are making tons of gold to be able to respec. They'll get mount money from here on out. You can respec as many times as you want.
Fishing is actually S, bro.
It has to be S tier. There's a reason why people have 40, 50, 60 hours logged of just fishing. Bobka has over 6,000 casts in-game. Opened over 300 trunks. It is the equivalent to the in-game casino. You know,
right, I'm actually going to go a step further here. I'm going to need you to move fishing to the left of engineering. Just
whoa. It starts to diminish, though, later on. Like, in some of the later tiers.
Yeah, we're talking about Circuit 1, though.
Circuit 1, bro.
This is your best gold per hour, especially if you're getting those mithril trunks, right? If you're getting the super high level stuff, you can literally start getting gear for later circuits. You're making money, you're getting bags. Pretty much on all fronts, fishing is helping you. You're getting leather for dynamite, you're getting leather for advanced target dummies. Or not leather for dynamite, just for advanced target dummies and future engineering shit. if you're a tailor or something, you're getting bolts of cloth. Like, you're getting rings, necklaces. Like, it's just crazy, bro. Fishing is crazy.
Yeah, we've seen some insane fishing drops. I haven't gotten any myself. Oh, I got a couple mail pieces to drop, but yeah, you can basically get best in slot gear with fishing in each of these circuits that you won't be able to get from quest rewards. And then that's the other thing, you can infinitely fish, right? You can't just grind mobs for green drops in the open world because you gain XP and you hit that level cap. This is an infinite addition to the power of your character. It has infinite value, I guess. So it's as good as you make it. It's as good as the amount of time that you put into it, I guess. Like, I got an Invispot recipe to drop the other day whenever I was deep sea fishing in Daenerys at level 22. So that could help later on if that was a part of our team strategy. But yeah, I think it's fair to say fishing is probably S tier. It's been really cool to see fishing really be a staple for like the meta that's been created in this first circuit. Everybody's hanging out at Merkfound. Like, it's hilarious, dude. You log in.
Fishing has never been so strong than it is in hardcore. It's such a funny meme to me. Like, barely anyone ever fishes when you're playing.
Yeah, whenever you play,
the bots and stuff are out there fishing eels and stuff. But now in hardcore, it's like this insane.
Yeah, it was solo self found. Can't use the auction house. You have to grind for gold. Fishing it has a place. All right, so it's S tier. Let's take a look at leatherworking. What's everybody think about leatherworking? In Circuit 1, how beneficial do you think it is? And maybe it gets some love later on? We're going to take an in-depth look, but what does chat have to say about it?
Leatherworking.
DDC. Table Slam, one of the few leatherworkers in chat, Table Slam says A. But I think that's copium, bro.
State your case, Table Slam. State it right now. Leak your strat, or we're putting it in the.
He's coped out of his mind, man. He's coped. He wants Wolf's Head Helm in Circuit 3, but
Rolling, bro. Leatherworking is amazing. What the fuck?
Leatherworking is garbage, dude.
Leatherworking is amazing, bro. You're literally cracked out of your mind.
Well, I think it's an easy C.
Leatherworking, these early crafting professions are at their strongest in hardcore, probably at the start, because you can actually go kind of deep with them and make pretty much completely level appropriate gear. Like, if you went really try hard with leatherworking and you got it up to 225 or something, you're telling me you couldn't make like sick green gear perfectly around your level range, or like deviate scale belt. I know you did that on one of your runs. If you went leatherworking and you had to, you would have for sure made that, right? What is it? That's on now.
It's not good now though. It doesn't. You can't put it in that it will diminish because you have like Wolfhead's helm and all that stuff, and it scales, right? Like, if anything, you're going leatherworking for later.
There are a couple pieces. We're gonna take a look. Yo, one last. I think we're between B and C, guys. Not worth it, but oh well. Some people probably think it's D. B, C, or D. Put your vote in chat, and we'll go with whatever you guys say.
I'm going B, bro. I'm going B.
I'm leaning towards C.
Wait, make your case though, Gray. You've done more leatherworking than probably Les or me. Why is it
It's the opportunity cost. You go leatherworking and think about what you're sacrificing by going leatherworking. Your profession locked, you can never change later on. The things you're missing out on by not being leatherworking might be okay, but what you're giving up by being a leatherworking is just too much. That's why it's bad.
So you're Alk on Druid, right?
I'm Alk on Druid, yeah.
What do you have to look forward to with Alk versus if you were engineer versus if you were leatherworking?
I actually think in-game with Mongoose, this is only applicable in like Circuit 4 and 5 with Mongoose, and I think the primary stats. Honestly, bro, the primary stats and the protection potions, the absorption damage that I get from alchemy, way better than primary stats I'm going to gain from leatherworking.
You realize
Wolf's Head Helm.
You realize they're not only going to have Wolf's Head Helm, they're going to have Wolf's Head Helm and full Devil Sword.
Nah, you can't get Devil Sword. Not in solo so found. You have to trade with another profession for Salt Shaker.
Oh, fuck.
Or like re-level. Yeah, so it's
you can
bricked.
make one. You can make one. One doesn't require cured hide, right? Isn't it like you can make the gloves or something?
Yeah, I think that's copium. Let's leave it in C for now. That's leatherworking. What do you guys think about tailoring? Oh, if you thought leatherworking was bad. Sheesh. Tailoring, man. Come on. Do we even have to talk about it? Okay, next slide.
Tailoring cracks, bro.
Sell me on tailoring. Bag biz? Oh, bro. You gonna tell me crafting bags is why you go tailoring? Come on, man. Nah, you're coked out of your mind.
You know how many bolts of cloth you get from fishing, bro? You know how many bolts of free cloth you get from the thousands of cat fishing?
I don't
You
know,
what you have-
bro.
you have to
For
look-
what, bro?
So you can make, like, it's the same thing with blacksmithing, leatherworking, and tailoring. You can make SIG gear that's perfect for this level range because your professions are way higher level, so you can actually go and get the gear. I still agree it's worse than Alk and NG, but not by that much, bro. I actually think it's kind of good. Like, leatherworking, the armor kits are going to be at peak strength too. What's the max armor kit you can make right now? Isn't it like 32 armor or something? You have like 4 of them.
I think if we're gonna, I'm starting to be
Leatherworking's
sold.
better than tailoring.
I actually think these crafting professions are decent. If we're just looking at Circuit 1, if we were looking at all circuits, these would be in D from the start. But I think that they fall off hard. I think they're good now. And in later circuits, they might get ranked lower. But we'll look at what we can do with tailoring here in a moment. And then, what do you guys think about blacksmithing?
Bro, we just saw that guy decked out.
Yeah, we just saw the guy decked out. I mean, all of those items may not be this, but they're just rippy as fuck, dude. I think blacksmithing is awesome. Got the sharpening stones too.
That guy just looks sick.
Ompy thinks blacksmithing, tailoring, and leatherworking, at least in this tier. It did seem like blacksmithing brought the most to the table, and we'll look at these lists and see if you guys get rid of them.
Yeah, you get weapons, you get weapon stones, you get, there's a lot going on with blacksmithing.
This is really cool, man. Okay, well, this is our tier list. We'll see if it pans out by the end of it. Let's go ahead and take a look at these professions one by one, starting out with alchemy, guys. So, what does alchemy bring to the table in Circuit 1? And why should I go alchemy instead of engine? Or, what am I gaining here instead of being an engineer? In Circuit 1, these... If I missed anything, go ahead and let us know in chat. But in Circuit 1, you've got access to Minor Fortitude, Defense, Strong Troll's Blood Potion. These are all trained from the trainer. You've got 4 Strength as offensive. Oh yeah, Elixir of Wisdom was in between.
Are you
offensive
sure
and defensive.
Strong Troll's Blood is from the trainer?
Yes.
Somewhere from the quest or something?
No, it is. It's definitely from the trainer. Yeah, I think it's the next one. The stats look pretty good, man. You get 20 plus 27 health, 150 armor for 1 hour, 6 HP 5, 4 strength, 6 intellect. And then some of the tech over here, we've got Lesser Invispot that comes online at 23. So maybe after your first dungeon, we're going to see some Lesser Invisibility Potions see play. Oh, we've got Elixir of Firepower for mages.
Firepower is usable right now. Like, if mages want to go fire for some reason. That's awesome.
Yeah, plus 10 fire damage for 30 minutes is pretty sweet. Swim Speed Potion might see some use. I mean, do you use Swim Speed Pot and BFD for your little swim? Or do you save that 2-minute cooldown?
You are missing free action potion, but I don't know if that's actually going to be worth it versus anything. It doesn't actually work versus the smite mechanic, when he knocks you down. Like, I think what are you getting stunned by here? Man, in all of these dungeons, what are you getting stunned by? I'm trying to think. There's a knockdown with Rocksoar and Dead Mines. In SFK, there's a... No?
I don't know. The thing is, bro, FAP is it's putting your potion cooldown on 2 minutes. So whenever you use these things, you got to realize you're not chugging a mana pot for most of these classes. It's just that you're losing out on damage, I think. So maybe FAP could have been in here. Those are what you get guaranteed. If you really got sweaty with alchemy, you could go farm elixirs of ogre strength. It's a world drop at level 20 plus, but it's like a 5% drop from those Knolls and Hillsbrad or the ogres over here in Dusk.
Now you're cooking gas, though. If you can get 8 strength, 8 agi, that's quite a lot. If you are able to get those recipes.
So that recipe drops from level 26 to 29 mobs. I don't know if anybody was sweaty enough to do that.
But everyone on your team needs to, only you get the value, right?
Yeah.
So your whole team has to be farming these things.
Yeah. And then
I wonder, if I'm camping Booty Bay Vendor, right, getting tons of potions, so I'm going to have literally the best in slot mana and health potions. And if you're camping the Scroll Vendor, and you can actually have one guy in your team do that because you can actually buff each other with scrolls, and you get the best in slot scrolls because you're camping the vendor, are you just effectively nullifying alchemy?
maybe.
For Circuit 1.
Maybe for Circuit 1. The scrolls fall off and the elixirs get better later on. So yeah, maybe the scrolls do diminish the value of alchemy in Tier 1. Elixir of Minor Agility, it's a world drop 1 to 19. I actually got this on my Druid, so I'm going to have 4 agi on my Druid, which is pretty cool. And you could get the 8 agi, it's a world drop as well, that drops from level 20 plus mobs. I didn't see that one. There was another elixir that I'm just now realizing, Elixir of Giant's Growth. It's a 3-minute cooldown, but it increases your strength by 8. But it doesn't take the potion cooldown of like a mana pot or anything. So if you, that's a world drop as well in the Barons. So that could be like your alternative for Elixir of Overstrength. But these are world drops if you got really lucky with Alchemy that can bring to the table. And then the last thing Alchemy brings is our protection potions. There's 5 schools of magic that you can absorb, and the first 3 that are online in this circuit are Holy, Shadow, and Fire. So Nature and Frost protection potions require 27 or 28, so they're not going to see play here. Holy protection potion, I think that those Naga and BFD, they cast like a smite. The thing is, if you're Alchemy, you might as well have it. You can get the mats pretty easy. You might as well have a Holy protection potion. It lasts 1 hour, you might as well use it. To get Shadow protection potions for SFK, you need Grave Moss, and here's the Grave Moss spawns that you would be looking at. Wetlands, Southern Barrens, or Duskwood, of course. So
I realized something, bro. I think I realized what they were talking about when we're missing something.
What's that?
The oils.
Oh.
Is that what they're talking about? I literally just had like a thought that you can buy Shadow Oil.
Shadow Oil, Frost
From,
Oil.
the Duskwood vendor in that house. I don't know if you can put it on your weapon, but it's kind of insane. But it's hard to farm the Shadow Oil. Yeah, it's really good, but it doesn't last very long and it's expensive. It takes like Grave Moss or something to make the...
Oil's 24? Oh, dude. Yeah, I think people are going to be level 24 in this circuit.
People will definitely be 24. Definitely be 24.
Well, I actually didn't add oil.
Doesn't last very long, but like a warrior or something with Shadow Oil on the weapon is giga, bro.
So, for anybody that doesn't know, the Shadow Oil, yeah, it requires level 24. It has a 15% chance of casting Shadow Bolt 3 at the opponent when it hits. It lasts for 30 minutes. So it actually does last a long time.
Okay.
So that might see some play, man. It requires 4 Fade Leaf and 4 Grave Moss. Yeah, we actually missed that one on this slot. The protection potions probably aren't going to see that much play, man. Maybe SFK. There's some Shadow Bolts that go out. I think there's fire protection or fire damage that goes out, like the Fire Blast.
Bro, can you look up Shadow Bolt 3?
Look up what? Oh, Shadow Bolt 3?
Shadow Bolt 3? Because I think it might even do more damage than poisons, dude. Like, what if a rogue just said fuck poisons, like, this is... And they just double Shadow Wheel their weapons.
Causes 52 to 61 shadow damage. I think that's...
Bro, that's probably more than poisons at this level.
Wow. Fade Leaf is hard to get, Parla. It was, where do you get Fade Leaf? You probably have to be in Arathi Highlands or something to get Fade Leaf.
Probably Fisher, dude. You Fisher?
I don't think so. But I think, guys, that is our... Oh, okay, and then, yeah, of course, you can't forget your Greater Healing Potion and your Mana Potion. They're level 22 and level 21. They're pretty easy to craft if you're an Alchemist, but the thing is, if you're Inji, you have access... If you're not Alchemy, you can buy these potions from vendors, or you can fish them up in the Tier 3 trunk. And I think the most common spot would be Dustwallow Marsh. This is where some teams may be doing this. I haven't heard or seen anybody fishing off this coast. The only reason you'd be doing it is for these potions from these chests right here. But yeah, those are our healing and mana pots that you gotta get. So overall, Alchemy seems pretty good. Seems decent in Circuit 1. I think...
I was gonna say it's kind of bad, honestly, until I realized the oil, bro, because like these are negated from the vendor. The scrolls are going to be literally better than the buffs. You get swim speed pot, which is kind of cool. Swim the spot if you're lucky enough to get the recipe. Nothing essential though. Everything you can get with just effort from going to vendors and stuff. But the oil, kind of game changer, man.
That is sick. That is sick. So the Shadow Oil might see play at 24.
And I guess Lesser Invis pot will probably see play.
Yeah,
if it's 24. So that is kind of big.
It's exciting, man. That's everything available with Alchemy in Circuit 1. Let's take a look at Engineering. Everybody seems to think this is S tier. Plays really well at in the first circuit, and I think it's going to scale well all the way through. So right off the bat, let's just look at the explosives that you can make. You can make bombs, iron grenades, heavy dynamite. These all require iron nodes. I think everybody's farming iron ore, and there's one right here, the solid dynamite, that requires mithril ore. And somebody told me that you can actually farm mithril over in the Charred Vale right now. And so that's kind of interesting. There's so much damage that comes out on like some of these higher level bombs if you're actually that sweaty. Cargos, what does engineering look like for you? How many like dynamites and stuff have you farmed up?
I think if I played my cards exactly right, and if I had to do this entire circuit over again, I would have started farming for the end game stuff at like literally 14 or 15 and trying to just accumulate Giga Wool really early. And if I was able to do that, I would have been able to push into Silk tier more comfortably. And then I would have taken more risks to get Mithril and lived in the Charred Vale a lot more to get a few Mithril nodes. I tapped a couple. But honestly, kudos to you. If you were sweaty enough and had the foresight to know what all the bottlenecks are, and you're going to be chucking solid dynamites on Saturday, you're a fucking Giga Chad. It's so much damage, man.
It's
Look
like
at that.
twice.
I'm gonna, yeah. Even getting to heavy is crazy, bro, because that's iron. You know, I'm tapping iron, which is hard for me to get. I'm around skull level mobs everywhere, just getting iron.
I mean, that's the big thing, man. Like, these competitors have all of that foresight. Like, even our team, which I consider to be, I mean, definitely a wild card, but definitely, you know, a team of people who played the game a ton. We kind of thought, okay, cool, we can level up to about 18, 19, then start to do our prep. And then we realized, oh snap, this is bad. We've goofed this, right?
Cargos told me too. He's been doing the PvP Makaraz. He's like, hey, Gray, the one thing I learned was I over level really quickly. I was like, we'll see. It's not gonna be a problem. And yeah, if we could have done it again, we would have started farming way earlier. We would have stopped questing way earlier at like level 15. So solid dynamite, man, has the potential to do like twice the damage of the iron dynamite. That's crazy.
Bro, if theoretically you had a team of all engineers and you all had solid dynamite and you chuck solid dynamite, I think you one-shot Van Cleef.
I think he does have like 2k health.
Like, you all just open up on him at the same time, cast like one ability and chuck dynamite and he's dead.
It would like imagine you're gonna insta-kill the ads and then a new wave of ads spawn. May you probably kill those too.
It's literally like the 300 scene where they're like, our
Bro,
arrows will black out the sun.
Oh my god, dude.
Throw 5 dynamites and it just blacks out the sun and one-shots whatever.
Are we gonna see clips of Van Cleef dying in like 4 seconds on Saturday?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Wait, dude,
I'm telling you, bro,
do you understand what our group is going to do to Van Cleef? It's going to be disgusting.
Dude, I'm actually so excited.
Like, 19 elites, Grace, that are walking around have like 750 health.
Dude, to think you can do this on every pull, you can do this every 60 seconds? Oh my goodness. Dude, Engie's cracked. Engie is cracked.
Yeah, Engie's cracked. But I don't think it scales as well as Alchemy. Like, I think you're 100% right. Like, Alchemy's going to outscale it when you get things like Mongoose and stuff online for sure. The deeper Agi pots, even.
That's sick, man. Those are explosives. We can drop every 60 seconds. Let's look at the tech that engineering brings. In Circuit 1, of course, is our biggest defensive cooldown. Might help with some skips if we try to skip a bunch of mobs and jump onto an evade spot. If we overpull, it's a great threat suspension. You know, if somebody's about to die, you just drop a dummy real quick. We have access to like the tier. There's 3 tiers of dummies, and you can actually make the tier 2 target dummies right now. And you can see the difference between the two. One has 1,000 health, and another has 3,000 health. And so it's an AoE
I thought it was
taunt.
4.5k.
Oh yeah. So it's the way it works. It's an AoE taunt that never resists. I've never seen one of these target dummies resist. It's always a snap threat, but it's like a threat. I don't think it's a threat suspension. But I think it gets to the top of the threat table, and if you have any heal ticking, bro, I swear, even if you move, like if you strafe, you get like strafing aggro, and it's so easy to pull threat off of these target dummies, in my experience. So they don't hold threat very well, but they can definitely like snap threat a really bad pull, or snap threat all the mobs in one location, and then a mage can like Frost Nova and reset everything, and everybody can recover from a bad pull maybe. But yeah, target dummies are really OP.
So I was not expecting to be able to make advanced target dummies for this. It kind of blows my mind that, you know, we're up in the tier where we have gyrocronatums, iron spikes, bronze framework, and heavy leather. Grace, the fishing is just what made this all possible, you know? To have so much heavy leather at low level to make advanced target dummies blows my mind. And the crazy thing I'm curious about, I've never dropped advanced target dummies in low level dungeons, so I don't know how strong it's going to be, because the main thing is it's level 40. So because it's level 40, I'm hoping that the mobs can't even touch it at all. Like, and it's so strong, it basically just holds it for all 15 seconds, no matter how many mobs are there. The other one's like level 20 or something. But it
However,
would be
they
kind of
have
sad,
come
like you
into
said, if you
contact
drop a
with
level
it
40 target
recently.
dummy and you can just pull off it with like one ability.
Yeah,
would
I think that's what
reckon
happens,
that by your
honestly.
time, not
In my
mine,
experience, they
recent
never
for
hold
me
threat very well.
stretches
I've
into the
I've
veil of
tested
the
target
past,
dummies where I drop
almost
it and I just like
another
run
age.
away for 3 seconds, cast no abilities, and they pull off. So I don't know if that's how it's intended to work, but they still have a use case. Really good item. It has a 2-minute cooldown. We're gonna be dropping these every 2 minutes, but it does take place of like a Hellstone. It takes place of... It's not a health pot. It shares cooldown with something else, though. Maybe your minor recombobulator, if you have that. Speaking of minor recombobulator, this trinket's available for the Alliance side, and you can buy this recipe from an Alliance vendor only. Horde don't have access to it until Nomergan. I don't even think Horde's going to do the quest to be able to learn the schematic during the race, because it's going to take time to put in all those punch cards. I think the Horde just never had minor recombobulator in his first couple circuits, and it's pretty strong, man. It has 10 charges, dispels polymorph, which might be, it might see some play. You might actually dispel polymorph on some of your teammates, but the best thing is it restores 150 to 250 health and mana. But it does share cooldown with target dummies, so you got to realize that. It's kind of expensive to make. Those moss agates, it's not super free, and there's only 10 charges here, but this is another
I want to
huge
get
cooldown.
it, bro.
Say again?
You know why? Because we might want to get it because we're a horde melee like physical damage cleave. We have no defensive dispel. We have nothing. So like if we're in ZF or something and healer gets hexed, we have no solution.
That's why our team's called No CC, man. We're just full sug.
Oh wait. Maybe it's a curse. Maybe it is hex and you can decurse. I think maybe.
Oh, yeah,
if
decurse.
it's a polymorph, then you could dispel it with this, you know.
I can't
But,
use that.
Or we can just interrupt. Bulbco would be giving you a hard time, bro. This team no CC. We don't play around. Mob mechanics. We're just gonna grind everything down. But yeah, I don't know if the time as a Horde member gaining this in Nomergan is gonna be worth it. Maybe though. But it's really interesting to see that you're gonna be penalized as Horde if you try to get this during your Nomergan run. Another item that Engineering has is Nomus Universal Remote. It's not that expensive to make. Alliance get it from the vendor recipe in Ironforge. Horde has access to it if you go to Shimmering Flats, but that means you got to run by like level 45 mobs in Teneris. And I think the only use that you're getting out of this is in the Foundry room from the Goblin Engineers whenever they summon their mechanical. This is a really cool item. Like what we've seen in these circuits, and we're tweaking out our characters at 22.5, even if it doesn't have that much impact, you know, even if fishing for 40 hours only gives me like +3 agi, you know, plus 10 base stats, the nature of these tournaments, people want to be full bis, and so it's neat that this Nomus Universal Remote does slot into some of these bis lists, and I think we saw like a Horde Rogue with this on, and so that means a Horde Rogue ran all the way to Shimmering Flats past high-level mobs in order to get here, or to get this recipe, so that's cool. Hopefully we see some plays with this.
Yeah, was there any comments underneath it that shows any more information on how it works, like how long you control the units, or is it like a mystery? I've never used this before.
Well, I looked, if you look at the tooltip, those golems, they die after a minute. Like even whenever you're fighting them, they just despawn after 60 seconds. So no matter how the remote works, I don't know how long you control it. I think that mob's just gonna despawn after 60 seconds, is what I would think.
Makes sense.
It is hard
Some people
for
are
me
saying
to
it's 1 minute
believe
anyways.
what
Yeah.
I hold now is that which has held me for so long.
How
Let us
painful
waste
is
no time,
backfire?
adventurer. When the
I don't know
seal
if
is
that guy's
destroyed,
tested
I
it,
might
bro. What
walk
if it
the
just
forests
kills
of the
you?
earth freely
Yo, it
again.
also, look, it can either just root the machine or make it very angry. You probably enrage the mob. You might give it the ability to thrash or something. So it could backfire. Imagine a whole group with Nomus Universal Remotes try to...
Bro, what if you
CC?
could use it on Sneed, man? On a shredder?
Oh, that would be sick. Oh, no way.
You definitely can. You definitely can.
You don't think so?
On Sneed Shredder, the boss?
You might be able to, dude.
No shot.
You might be able to. I never thought about that.
No shot.
You just take him into the next hallway and start fucking chopping everybody up.
There's no way that's how that works.
I'm excited to see the play of this universal remote. Let's see, what else does engineering bring to the table? Okay, and then we have scopes. Carlos, you can touch light on this. You get your +2 damage scope, +3 scope on your ranged weapons.
I love Vanilla WoW, bro. I really do love Vanilla WoW so much, Grace. I love how the deeper I get into this game, the cooler you can slot all the little pieces of garbage you get along the journey into your professions and get value from them. Like, for most of my WoW career, I would just vendor the Malachite when it drops, right? Malachite's so fucking bad, so useless. I don't do that anymore, man. Like, I make a little scope out of it. Just you make a 1+1 scope with the Malachites that drop. It's good. It's a decent free skill up, and it moves the needle a lot in the same vein that, you know, sharpening stones with the weapons. So that's the tier 1 scope. The tier 2 scope requires a Bob Saget, which you'll encounter a few of them along the way. You make bronze tubes, like just while naturally leveling up NG. So it's just something you want to keep in mind. Like, you don't want to throw these gems away, right? If you know what they're used for. And then the tier 3 scope requires Jade and Citrine, and it's just so cool that you can get those items at low level through Iron for the Citrine and Jade also for the Citrine, actually, or Gold.
So you actually got the Citrine off of Gold Vein, right? For your accurate scope?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I called it too. I told Boke, I was like, yo, I'm going to get a Citrine off this drop.
No way. So that's pretty cool, man. Cargo's actually got the accurate scope in Circuit 1. It's a neat item. That goes into the benefits of engineering. Also, in the last tier for engineering, you can actually get gear. And so we can look some of the items that you can get from engineering in Circuit 1. Of course, we've been talking about it all day. You've got your green tinted goggles.
It's too far away.
And just the trials that you go through to get these moss agates. It's so exciting that we call them Bob Saggets on stream all the time. This is such a cool item, though, to drop. And here's some stats. I think it's 1% from tin veins. It's 3% from silver veins. Whenever you're in dungeons, you might notice that, like, you see moss agates drop all the time. And I look at the database. It's got, like, a 1% flat rate on all gems for the level range that the elites are. And so you see Bob Saggets drop in dungeons, or just that you could farm elite mobs outside of Wailing Caverns and probably has the same drop rate. And then sometimes you'll see them in chests or from normal mobs, but these are hard to come by. And not every team, as you saw on these Bislists today, they didn't have their green tinted goggles, they just had their Tiger's Eye. But you've got green tinted goggles you can make. This one's huge, dude. Warsong boots. I think these last through like Circuit 3. 8 agi, 6 stamina boots.
Gigantic.
And you may not realize, if you haven't done NG before, there's a quest in Solo Self-Found where you have to craft a deadly blunderbuss. Normally you just go to the auction house. On any other server, you buy these off the auction house, but you have to craft it yourself. So this is why only engineers can do this quest. And it's super difficult to do at level 22. I think that you got this, Cargos. How hard was it to complete Warsong Boots at 22?
It was actually so chill and smooth. I was overthinking like crazy. It's the hardest thing ever. There's actually another Saber camp you can go with lower level mobs. They're only 25s and 26s, which if you're kind of twinked out at 22, you can kill them. And you go loot the oil there. Then the saw blades you get from turning in the blunderbuss. And look at the materials for the blunderbuss, Grace. Look at the components. Copper tube. You make those and you do nothing with them. What do you do with them? You vendor them. Literally everybody vendors them because there's nothing to do with them. You can actually just make a deadly blunderbuss. The copper bolts, you already make like 9 million of those, right, when you're leveling NG. The wood stock you buy from a vendor, and some medium leather that you already have so much of because you're fishing like crazy. So you easily make the blunderbuss after fishing. Then you go to Booty Bay, you just pick up the crate there for free. You go turn in the blunderbuss for the saw blades. The oil is the hardest part. You just have to kill a few 25 and 26 mobs and go loot it on the ground. And then the rope drops from the furl box. So the tactics did have to spend quite a bit of XP farming them for his to drop. I got mine on like the 3rd. So it wasn't too bad. And then that's it. You get your boots.
That's awesome. Yeah, so you've seen some of the teams get Warsong Boots too. It was kind of sweaty to get these, but yeah, huge item for engineering in Circuit 1. And then we've got the silver-plated shotgun. Requires 130 NG. How difficult was it to get the silver bars? I don't even know how often you saw silver veins. Maybe it wasn't hard at all. And is this like the BIS gun? Is this even useful? I saw a couple people with silver-plated shotgun.
It's pretty rare, bro. It's like I said, if you know what all this stuff is used for, you don't vendor it, right? How many times have you leveled a character and you've just vendored shit because you don't know what it's for and you don't have the foresight? Everyone comes across silver bars in their journey, right? Everyone comes across Tiger's Eye and stuff, and it's important you hang on to that stuff and have a plan for it. And it's the same with this. I hung on to my silver and had it all ready to go, so it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. So those
you turn into a hoarder, though.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're level 60 with your 2 silver bars. You forgot what to do with them, and it's a tough life.
Yeah.
It does seem like engineering brings a lot more to Circuit 1 than any of the other circuits. After taking an overview at it, I don't think we missed anything. Next, let's take a look at cooking. Like you guys said, maybe... So we don't have access to Thistle Tea, right? Because the rogues need Swift Thistle, and most rogues are probably going NG. And I'm not even sure. I think that this quest, I think you can pick it up at level 20. It might be difficult to complete at 22 as a rogue, but all the benefits you can get from cooking in Circuit 1, there's not very many. You get smoked sagefish for 3 MP5 food. You can get up to 8 stam, 8 spirit food, but I messed this up. Just like I don't have silk bandages or a couple other things. I actually leveled too quickly, and I didn't have room to go to Wetlands and farm Crocalus and get my 8 stam, 8 spirit food there. But Alliance, they...
Tactics did. Tactics went to Wetlands, farmed all the crocodiles, budgeted it in, and then vendored it.
No way!
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've got 6 stam, 6 spirit. But yeah, it makes a little bit of money. There's not much to say about cooking. It's alright, but there's nothing we're missing in Circuit 1, right, guys?
Not specifically, no, other than just the buffs. The buffs are strong, though.
Yeah.
It's much better to have the buffs than to not have the buffs, that is for sure. So if you can level up your fishing or your cooking, definitely get that done.
Yeah, so that's what cooking can bring. Then next we've got first aid. It's pretty straightforward. Wool bandage, heavy wool bandage, and silk bandage. You can see the difference in the tiers if you get up to silk bandage. It was really funny. I didn't think about that before Cargo said this today, but if you used heavy wool bandages to level up your first aid and you were engineering, you have to use wool cloth for those solid dynamite. So it's like, what do you in a speedrunning competition? Do you care about leveling up your first aid here? Because it's tough to get wool cloth to drop. It's not like wool cloth drops every time you kill a 15 or 16 mob. And assuming you can drop dynamite every 60 seconds, you probably don't have much room to make bandages at all, and you want to use it all for dynamite. But if you did get up to silk bandages, I think you have to kill level 23, 24 mobs to get silk to drop in the first place. It's actually insane how much plus healing it does compared to the worst wool bandage. Alright,
yeah.
Then fishing, guys. There's a lot of different angles we could have taken with fishing in this first circuit. It really has stolen the show. Probably the highlight of Circuit 1. Everybody hanging out at Merkfallen Lake, these random places in the open world. We're going deep sea fishing at 22. Swimming past Thresidons next to Alcaz Island. Making it to the sandy shore of Daenerys just to fish up some Rumsey Rum Black Label. But yeah, man, fishing is... It brings a lot to the table. And there's a lot that we could talk about. You can break it down really easily. But there's like 4 tiers of fishing. And there's 4 different crates that drop as well. I didn't add in the tier 1 crate. Yeah.
So you have 225 fishing, right?
Yeah.
Like we all do, right? Because
yeah.
We
Everybody does, yeah.
Could you throw on an aqua dynamic fish attractor, get it up to 325 or whatever, like literally max, go to like, because you're a druid in aquatic form, and literally swim to like Winter Spring or somewhere like absurdly high level and fish those for like 55 greens and vendor them for like 2 gold a pop?
Like Azara? Yeah. No, you totally could. Well, that's the thing. Fishing, the highest tier trunk that you can get is that tier 4 trunk, and it only drops greens level 35 to 45. So that's what we were talking about earlier. Fishing falls off. So think about these last 2 circuits. The meta that we have right now, you can get your Bisquier in Circuit 1, 2, and 3 through fishing. Circuit 4 and 5, fishing is going to be negated. The only thing you get from fishing is like Rumsey Rum Black Label in the last 2 circuits.
That's crazy, bro. I didn't know that. So there's no tier above Mithril. That's actually the highest fishing trunk.
Yeah.
There's no thorium tier or anything. Wow.
The more you know.
Yeah, and so it does fall off in later levels, but these first 3 circuits, it's God tier. Also, what's available, and I think we saw some teams do this. This is about all you can get from fishing. You also have the STV fishing tournament. There's 3 rare fish that you can fish up. 1 rewards a headpiece, boots, and a fishing lure. If you've ever done a level 19 twink, you've probably seen the lucky fishing hat or the 15 stand boots. I didn't add that one to the list, but this is definitely... I've seen 1 character with lucky fishing hat on our server that's competing in Hardcore All-Stars, and so they got the Kiefer's Anglefish. It's a 1% drop rate. Out of the 3 rare fish, he high rolled And then if you win the tournament, you actually get a
Anyway, your
trinket
task has been well
called Hook of the
executed.
Master
Good
Angler.
work.
And I think it's bugged on all
Exactly is
servers.
this crystal?
The fact
This
that
is but a
Ompi's team
single
fully
question in a
did
sea
it
of
and all 5 of
questions.
them did it shows that maybe
Another
this is one of those
question that
things, just a
comes to mind
knowledge
is
thing
why
like
the
Warsong
Moonkin would
Boots.
be
Like,
drawn to this
maybe it's not
object.
so bad to win it
Is
if you
the
just have the
crystal
right
benign in
instruction.
nature, or
Like,
does it hold
I've
a
never
more
done this. It
sinister
kind of
purpose?
intimidates me
I have many
to
more
try to do
questions, but we're
fishing
going to need to
tournament or
examine
whatever,
that
because I thought
crystal
only like one
closely to
person
get
could
some
win. But
answers.
if the NPC respawns every 10 minutes, like you said, Gray, maybe this is something you can reliably do.
Yeah.
And
I think that this has been bugged for a while, because I was on a Classic Era character the other day, and I noticed this as well. And so I think on multiple servers, the tournament's bugged, and the guy that declares the winner, he basically despawns and respawns every 10 minutes. So there is a team that they all have Hook of the Master Angler. They have a level 65 trinket that turns them into a fish to swim. So I don't think any of them got the lucky fishing hat, but they all completed the tournament, and I think they all have a trinket. So look for that.
So even if you don't win, you get the trinket.
Well, they do win because the guy that declares the winner despawns, and then it's like there's no winner. So it's kind of scuffed.
I see.
But it may not have that much impact, but it's one of those items, man. It's one of those strategies. Like, Vanilla has all these stupid, quirky items that see use. And in a speedrunning tournament, in a vacuum, this is a pretty high-value item. You know,
It is. So, oh, bro, it actually is, because you can escape danger with that trinket. It's so nice. Water is a killer in hardcore, and it turns it into a liability, into, like, an asset, because you have this trinket and the ability to escape as a piranha. The other thing that we didn't really think about with Fishing Gray is how the whole name of the game with these circuits is you're trying to get gear that you shouldn't normally have because you're under leveled, right? You're trying to twink out at these different brackets. And fishing, the weird ass interaction with fishing and weapon skill makes it so you can hit way higher level targets. Like if you're trying to do a super high level quest, if you go full plus fishing gear like this hat right here, +5 fishing, plus, your 225 fishing, you could probably hit like a really high level target,
Ooh, I didn't think about the plus fishing skill from these items. The lure's the same way. Yeah, so there's a lure that if you get the rare fish, it adds like +5 fishing.
That's crazy, bro. So you put on the aqua dynamic fishing thing plus the hat, and you're capped on weapon skill.
Yeah, man. Well, that might see some play. I don't know if anybody's sweaty enough or can find some use cases for that, but that might see some play later on. But yeah, fishing, even if it isn't S tier in the last circuit, I don't know, man. This has been the highlight of the tournament in Circuit 1 so far. Been super fun to watch everybody fishing in the open world. We should give some awards out for the most fishing casts or the most trunks fished up. Maybe we'll do that at the end of Circuit 1. But let's take a look at the crafting professions. Leatherworking. Let's see how good these professions really are, because you hear people all the time, oh, leatherworking, tailoring, blacksmithing, it all sucks. Let's see what's actually available at this level range. And I don't think I missed anything. Maybe I did. You guys can point it out, but these are all the items you can craft in leatherworking in Circuit 1 at level 22.5. And I think there might be some level 23 items in here. And I think some of the mats were straightforward on these. Deviate scale belt. You do need some perfect deviate scales, which are really hard to get. It's a really good belt. There's some decent alternatives, maybe not for Alliance, but I think deviate scale belt might be this for Ally. But again, that opportunity cost of going leatherworking. There's some cool items in here, though. Rogue can only get Pilfer's Gloves because it needs 2 lucky charms, which you pickpocket from the Rogue quest area. Red Welt Gloves might see some play on like a Feral Druid, or Rogue for that matter. But again, the opportunity cost, man, of going leatherworking and not being Ingi or Alk, I think is kind of painful.
Deviate scale belt, actually not that cracked looking at it right here.
It's not that great.
It's okay. I don't know how
the big thing. Go ahead, Cargos.
Oh no, sorry, man. I'm talking a lot, Lismos. Go ahead, man.
You're good, man. The big thing about these, what Grace just said, is really the opportunity cost. I actually think the professions in a vacuum are very good. If you could have told me that I would have showed up to Wailing Caverns with full greens, with solid stats for my class, I would have been very, very happy with that. But the fact that I have to give up engineering, I have to give up alchemy, I have to, basically, I guess I get to not fish as much, which is cool, but it doesn't really save me anything outside of time. And I guess in a world where you are, you're 13 kids, 9 wives, right? You might as well go leatherworking, right? Just to,
if you're not gonna do the other ones,
just to speed run, and you don't have to worry about fishing. But it really is the biggest thing with these professions. It's not that they're not good. it's really that the opportunity cost is just so high because you don't get
No,
anything.
I want to see Table Slam prove us wrong, man. I want to see the details on Red Whelp gloves be like 20% damage through the whole dungeon.
I was about to say, dude, red whelp gloves, that's a cool ass item. I wonder
It's a
how
cool
much
item.
Maybe what's the PPM on it or whatever. Oh, actually, no, it's right there. It's 5% chance or internal cooldown or anything. Maybe there is none. Maybe you just
I don't think there is. Yeah.
attacking so fast and cat and just 5% roll every attack.
So that gives you an idea of what you can get from leatherworking in this first circuit.
So it's 24 armor on the leatherworking kits, and you can put 4.
Yeah, and
That's
this doesn't stack with dire bear form, right? The 180% multiplier. It's only like the white armor values. So bear doesn't even get like really good use out of the armor kits. That additional armor's not multiplied. Yeah, it's kind of meh. You could get shoulders. I like the 7 stamina leather shoulders. Or you could just get lucky and fish some up. Or there was a quest, I think I got cloth shoulders that were like 5 stam 4 spirit. But overall, kind of underwhelming. I want to see this perform. I know there's a couple leatherworkers out there. I want to see how this pans out in tier 1. Let's take a look at tailoring.
May a loon walk with you, adventurer. The
There are
Temple
some
of the
decent
Moon
items
has
in
come
here.
to
This is
help the
hilarious.
troubled
This is like a whole
citizens
nother
of
game with
Oblivion.
tailoring.
The hippogriff is a
You're
noble
doing
beast,
way more PvE than
proud
everybody
and
else,
swift.
in like a different
They are
way.
an honor to train and can
I
quickly
heard
take
that
their
somebody was
rider a
farming
great
giant
distance.
clams off the coast of wetlands to roll 5% on the iridescent pearls to be able to craft some of these items.
Alright, I'm going to bed.